If you work in marketing, you have definitely felt it. The last year has been, well, a bit of a whirlwind, right? A whole lot of panic about AI, what it means for search. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and figure out what actually matters for SEO. Not just in the future, but right now. Let's get into it.
So this is the big one, isn't it? The question that's been on everyone's mind. It's what fueled all those frantic blog posts and, those last-minute, we need to change everything meetings. Did generative AI really finally kill traditional SEO? Well, let's unpack that.
To really get where we are now, we have to rewind a bit. The past year in the SEO world can only be described as the great AI panic. Seriously, it was just a time of massive uncertainty, with everyone trying to figure out what was happening.
And this really captures the mood. Everyone was scrambling, absolutely convinced that the old rulebook was totally obsolete. All you heard about was this new thing, generative engine optimization, or GEO, and this feeling that we all needed a brand new playbook, like yesterday.
Okay, so what was actually fueling all this panic? Because it wasn't just a vibe, right? There was real data coming in that was causing some very real anxiety. Let's look at the numbers behind what people started calling the great decoupling.
And yeah, here's the big one. The data showed that the number of AI overviews in Google search results just exploded. It jumped from showing up in about a quarter of searches to nearly half in just a matter of months. I mean, that is a huge, incredibly fast change to the search results page.
And that led to this really weird and, frankly, frustrating situation. Your content was being seen more than ever. Impressions were way up because AI was pulling your info into its answers, but the actual traffic, the clicks to your website, they were going down. This is that decoupling that sent everyone into a panic. More visibility, but less traffic. It felt like the entire game had changed overnight.
And of course, a new buzzword came out of the chaos, generative engine optimization, or GEO. It was being sold as this completely new thing, totally separate from SEO, that every marketer had to master immediately. And that just created so much confusion. Were we supposed to just drop all our old strategies for this brand new thing?
Okay, so let's all take a breath. That was the panic. Now it's time for a major dose of reality. We really need to put this AI traffic into perspective and compare it to the undisputed heavyweight champion, good old-fashioned Google organic search. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? With all the hype and all the panic, we have to step back and ask, when you look at the cold, hard numbers, how much traffic are these new AI platforms actually sending to websites? Well, here's the answer loud and clear. Some great analysis from iPullRank found that for most websites, AI platforms like ChatGPT and Perplexity are driving only about 2 to 3% of the traffic that Google Organic does. Just let that sink in for a second. For every 100 visitors you get from Google, you might get 3 from these AI platforms. Now, that's not zero, but it's definitely not the revolution we were told was happening, at least not yet.
And this is so important. The biggest danger for you right now probably isn't that you'll miss the boat on AI. The real risk is that you'll spend so much time, so much money chasing that tiny slice of traffic that you start to neglect the fundamental SEO that's driving the other 97% of your results.
Hey, and you don't have to take my word for it. Let's look at what Google itself has been saying this whole time. Amidst all the chaos, their message has been surprisingly consistent and pretty simple. This quote from Google's Danny Sullivan just cuts right to the chase. The core idea hasn't changed at all. Your job is to create valuable, helpful content for people. It doesn't matter if that content shows up in a list of blue links or in an AI-generated paragraph. The input is exactly the same. Quality, human-first content. So what does that actually look like? Well, no surprises here. It's the same stuff they've been telling us for years. They want original content that shows real expertise. They want to see firsthand experience. They want a strong, human voice. And, crucially, they want to focus not just on getting a click, but on what happens after the click. Are people engaging? Are they converting? That's always been the real signal of quality. This brings us back to that whole geo buzzword. The best way to think about it is not as some replacement for SEO, but just as a new piece of it. It's a subset. Just like we all adapted our strategies for local search and then for voice search, now we're just adapting for generative search. It's the next evolution of the same job. So if Google's telling us to stick to the fundamentals, what are the experts, the people doing this every single day, actually doing? Let's dig into the modern SEO playbook based on what over 60 pros are saying. This quote from Alita Solis really nails the expert consensus. See, AI isn't some magic box making up answers out of thin air. It's a layer that's built on top of the web we already have. It still has to find your site, crawl your content, and understand what it's about. And that means all the old rules about technical health, content quality, and authority are as important as ever. And here are the pillars that all the experts agree on: strengthening your signals of experience, expertise, authority, and trust, making sure your technical SEO is flawless so crawlers can do their job, building a brand that's so strong people search for you by name. And this is a big one: diversifying your traffic and building deep authority on your topics. This is your armor. This stuff protects you no matter what the algorithm does next. And just as a super quick refresher, EEAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Think of these as the core signals that Google's systems use to figure out if your content is credible enough to show up in search or now in an AI answer. Okay, let's make this super practical. Here's an action plan you can start on. First, go audit your content and find the pages that are most at risk of being replaced by a simple AI answer. Second, go beef up those pages. Strengthen your EEAT signals with things like author bios, better sourcing, and unique data. Third, diversify. Pick one channel that isn't Google and actually invest in it. And finally, start measuring what really matters. Move your KPIs beyond just clicks and track real engagement and business value.
Ultimately, the winning strategy here is to just stop chasing short-term algorithm hacks. Instead, you've got to focus on the things that grow and compound over time: your brand's authority, the trust you build with people, and the direct relationship you have with your audience. Those are the assets that will survive any shift in technology.
So, really, the big takeaway is this: don't ignore AI, but don't panic either. Ground your strategy in the proven fundamentals that have always worked, because they still do. Which brings me to one last question for you to think about. When you look at your own work, what's the one fundamental you're going to tackle first? Thanks for tuning in.